What up? What up? What up? Welcome to another live MEC session. We'll get started in just a second. We are waiting on a couple of our guests. Today we have another special session. I see Dylan just popped in here. Give me 1 second, everybody. Hold on 1 second.
Hey.
Dylan, what's going on, man?
How you doing, Dame? I'm good.
I'm doing pretty good as well. I see we got people starting to pop in here. Eighth Life, what's going on? No matter where you're tuning in from, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, if you type your comments in your comment section, I should be able to see it. We will have a question and answer section at the end. Michael Finn, what's going on, man? Appreciate you tuning in as always. Greg, what up, man?
What's up, Dame? How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a minute.
Been a long time. Glad we're here, though.
Indeed. All right, we're gonna wait another 20 seconds or so. Let some more people pop in here. A text just went out to alert some folks that it's going down. I think this is a great last minute pivot because the announcement for BeatStars Publishing was probably like 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago.
Yeah, a week ago. Yeah, a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay, so good, great timing. So I'm kind of glad we had a last minute cancellation. Greg, where are you based?
I am in Long Beach, California.
Oh shit, you're down here. Okay.
Yeah. Where you at? You in LA?
Yeah, I'm in the San Fernando Valley.
Okay, nice. There we go.
Yep. Dylan, what about yourself?
Man, I was in LA for a long time, but I actually just moved to Dallas, so I'm in the Dallas Metroplex now.
Nice. See, we got some more people in here. Quantize, what up? Boof on the beat as always. Appreciate you popping in. Shane, what's up? Let's see. We got some more people at jordanlife.com. What's up? All the regulars. Steve, what's up, man? Appreciate it. Miles got beats. What's going on? All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. We pivoted this morning, but I think it's a great pivot, great timing. BeatStars just made a really dope announcement, a great game-changing service that they're now offering publishing admin deals for artists and producers, right? It's open to everybody, right?
Yep.
Okay, so before we jump into that, let me introduce our guests and give the guests an opportunity to give a little bit of their background. So we have Greg Mateo, who your current role is. I just forgot it already.
But yeah, just heading up the ship, really, just president of the publishing and label division that we launched last year.
Nice. And then Dylan, your official title at BeatStars is?
Yeah, it's director of A&R and label services.
Okay. So I mean, I haven't really talked to Abe too much about. So you guys I know you guys signed an artist or put out some music. Is that
last May, Rude Boy. But yeah, so listen, it's we're developing a kind of a department here that's able to answer a lot of questions that a lot of our members had, and it's also trying to figure out what to do with certain things if it's a project related, and we're looking at those and seeing how we can get involved. And obviously the publishing one right now is the priority and what we're trying to establish in the industry, really. So but yeah, I'm trying to all facets here.
Dope. So does one of you kind of want to describe what the service is, who the partner's with, and kind of like how it originated?
Yeah, sure. I mean, listen, conversation's been going on for a little bit, but we officially announced the partnership, I believe, last April with Sony Publishing. After kind of going around and seeing what everyone was offering, really, we felt that Sony was offering the best services, I guess, for our community, and so what we've been establishing this past year is a department that is able to, really help out everyone, because as Dame and you and Payne One answer a lot of these questions, but there's a lot of questions about what is publishing, why is it important, why should I really be looking at this? Because honestly, a lot of the reason why there are questions, like, I don't think many people have seen checks come through, or have they been that substantial for them to really pay attention to it, right? So we're like, listen, we felt that we needed to create at least a team of people that could answer these questions, more educate, because at the end of the day, we love everyone joining us, but it's just getting people to think about deals. So that's what we really wanted to start, and that's why this kind of was created, and then from there, we're My appearance of
Yeah, I'm hearing that feedback as well. I'm not sure where it's coming. Like we lost Dylan. Oh, let me see.
Oh, there you go.
Let me see if it worked. Maybe that was him. I'll bring him back if he pops.
Cool. Trying to think where I left off, but essentially just creating a team of people that's, in this service that we're able to educate, answer a lot of questions, and obviously at the end of the day, administer people's catalogs, and things of that nature. But
right. Yeah. I mean, I think there is still a ton of like publishing. I mean, it might be a little bit complicated, but I don't really think like too many creators like just take the time to digest like what it is, because maybe a lot of artists don't really see much money coming in from publishing. So sure. Because they don't see the money coming in, maybe that's why they're not really taking the time to say, okay, is this something to even pay attention to?
100%.
Are there going to be like educational tools, or do we already have some on the website that we can point them to? Is that part of it?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, listen, our socials, since last April has been posting everything from what a PRO is to why you should copyright your beats, right? We have our monthly shows with our attorney, Kyle Brown, who goes into depths of the publishing world and new updates and things of that nature. We have monthly newsletters. So yeah, and then also on BeatStars World, there's a lot of information as well. Again, really going over from the basics of a PRO to neighboring rights to anything, we try to update on a weekly basis of what people could be paying attention to.
Is there we don't need to go into like a full spiel on like what is publishing,
right.
But the people that are still don't really know, okay, why am I signing up to this and what money is it collecting? It could one of you just answer that piece? Like, what money are you guys collecting when you sign up to BeatStars Publishing?
Dylan, you want to take that?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's every piece of the music publishing like revenue that exists out there. So, what one huge aspect that isn't collected upon when you're independent and don't have a publisher is obviously the mechanical royalties. And so we're out there, we're collecting those. We collect the publisher share of your performance royalties. So I think one thing that we've tried to be very clear in the messaging of all this is that we're not touching the writer share. You're still collecting all of that via your PRO, whatever that may be, ASCAP, BMI, others if you're in other territories. But we're collecting basically anything that's coming in on the publishing side of that. So, and that's coming from streaming, that's coming from radio, all the different sorts of revenue streams that exist out there for publishing in 2021. We're going to go out there and collect that at the highest royalty rate possible, because we have a partner in Sony that has an international team that's able to do that on the back end. And, we have a very dedicated team that's looking into any issues that may arise from the registration process to collecting, to even some larger issues sometimes where, maybe someone has used a beat that they did not license or something like that. We step in and can help in that regard. So I think I maybe answered probably more than you asked originally.
No, you did. You answered part of my next question in terms of why was Sony kind of the best partner for this to launch, to partner with for BeatStars in your guys' eyes?
I mean, in our eyes, listen, I think I know there's different opinions here, but being one of the biggest publishers in the world, right, comes with a lot of pros, in terms of people have to pay attention when there are issues that come up, right? So if your catalog consists of Jay-Z and, Travis Scott and Beyonce and whatnot, they're definitely getting their fair share of services, right? So we felt that, which benefits us, right? It's like, listen, to register a song with us goes pretty quick, right? The payment side, if there are any issues, they get resolved quicker because again, they're the number one, on the food chain there. So, that's a big reason. And also them just being in this spot for a while, always kind of looked out for producers as well. Our thoughts kind of just aligned pretty well, so the full on kind of operation, as we said, we have a full on team here at BeatStars. We have, the admin support from the Sony side. So we just felt it was a pretty good marriage on that side.
Nice. And where and this is, again, it's for artists and producers.
For everyone. Yep.
Where would they go to sign up, and what do the contracts look like? What's the commitment?
So they can sign up straight through studio.beatstars.com, /publishing. The contract's pretty straightforward, 1-year term. As Dylan mentioned before, 80-20 on mechanical, 60-40 on publishing performance side. All right. Writers, artists, producers keep 100% of their writer share. All right. And so that's it. I mean, listen, our long forms are like 4 pages. We wanted to be something very, very straightforward. Obviously the writers keep all their ownership. We don't own anything. It's a partnership. That's how we view this, and Dylan kind of went into some of the issues that we try to solve, which obviously happens for the online community, right? Someone getting their loop stolen or their beat stolen or whatnot. That sometimes when that arises, you don't know what to do. Sometimes you feel helpless. You don't want to burn bridges, right? Or anything of that nature. But it's also, we have to protect what's right, and those are your rights and those are your copyrights that you should be protecting. So that's where we see the importance of this. It's one thing to, let's register the placement, but it's also, well, listen, there's an issue with that. And that's when it gets a little bit more complex, and where we felt there wasn't a lot of service based around that, and I think a lot of people don't realize that, where you could register a song. There could be an issue with that registration, though, meaning someone else is taking a higher percentage than what you thought. That doesn't get rectified automatically. There's a team of people that fix that, or at least get alerted of that. And that's what could mean, oh, I didn't get paid for this song because there's a conflict, things like that you don't really think about all the time. And that's what we're trying to fix.
Yeah. Or that you might not even ever check, like there's
exactly.
guys that have no idea that's happening. I'm not going to go into the specific details of it, but we had a guy who had a top 40 record and had no idea that the artist had gone in and registered for 100% of the publishing royalties on it. And had that not been looked into and kind of sussed out, he would have never known. Potentially years could have gone by and money would have been lost, right? So that kind of stuff happens frequently in this online world that we live in now. And I think one thing that we're here to do, like Greg is saying, is we have our eye on the ball when it comes to the details of these kinds of things, and can actually help problem solve them. Like it's not a service where you just sign up and you're on your own. There's people there to help you kind of through these issues and even forecast them, not just deal with them once they're already there. So
Yeah, so many issues arise. Sometimes people are doing things on purpose, but I would actually say a majority of the time it's just people just don't know. Like we're still at a point where people are having trouble understanding the different types of copyrights, the master versus the composition. So it can get real messy when people that don't have those understandings are trying to register their own work. So they might put in 100% because they think it's the master, and they might own 100% of the master. So, I think it's important to have a team like you guys that can help resolve some of the issues, no matter why they arise.
Yeah.
If somebody's currently in an admin deal, and I know that, people can be in 3-year deals, 1-year deals, like and they wanted to switch and they wanted to move over to BeatStars, what would you suggest they do? What kind of research into their own deal? Like what would that process look like?
A couple ways, like you said, listen, we don't know what deals people are in, but let's just say the general type of deals that we've been seeing, because there's some companies that allow for just one song being registered and others are full catalog, right? So we're more of the full, what that producer is doing in a whole, or the artist, right? We understand that there's past, agreements. Our deal isn't going to supersede that, right? So it's kind of, if they're in a past deal and they have the right to do another deal, then they should do it. They should look in a clause, though. It's called retention period or a collection period, right? So after your term. So you got your term, your initial term, which will be the 1 year or 2 years. And then sometimes there is something called retention, meaning the company that you're with is allowed to still collect on the songs that you have registered with them, right? So it's kind of an extension of that term. So that's it. So barring that, anyone can join over, and we understand, like I said, they're in prior deals. So if they're still in term with us and those deals come up, we would want that song to come over to us, right? Just because we feel we are offering a service that, you would kind of see if you were signing that multi-year, maybe co-pub agreement almost, with another publisher, but we're doing it on an admin level, so.
Right. What can the expectation be in terms of, okay, say you have an active catalog, you sign up on the publishing side, like how quickly should they expect to see revenue starting to come in?
Varies. I mean, it's, if everything was clean and we had all the, clean meaning there wasn't any prior registrations. This is the first time they're in a deal. All the metadata was correct. All of this stuff has to come in play. Usually you have it's like a 3 to 6 months, mechanicals, royalties, sometimes a little bit quicker. But at the end of the day, we're at the mercy of every organization, right? So right. PRO, if ASCAP's slow in paying, then they're slow. Like that affects us, right? If one of the mechanical societies or even Spotify was slow in showing a certain term or a period, that affects us, right? So for us, though, we just want to make sure the registrations are in place as quick as possible. Those percentages are as correct as they can be. And then, a lot, and especially if there are bigger songs, we'll always be tracking those to make sure that there aren't other claims coming in and, everything's kind of protected because it's the Wild West essentially still, people could come out of the woodworks and say, oh, I did this part of it. And, throws it into what I was saying earlier, a conflict or whatever else. So,
I mean, I would even say on the master side, the payouts are slow, but on the publishing side,
I mean, listen, we're dealing with songs right now that a platinum track that was released 10 months ago, that person just saw their first check, right? Things like that. So it's sometimes it's slower, because again, you're at the mercy of that artist confirming their split if they're a big enough artist, if they're in this pool of artists where they got to get their input from their publisher, like, yeah, that 15% is correct, and then they can start doing the payouts and things like that. So again, a lot of variables that go into it. It's not just let's register and step away,
Right.
So.
And I should probably know the answer to this question already, but given that we have BeatStars distribution, BeatStars publishing, is it like if you're using BeatStars distribution, can you put the publishing splits in there and choose BeatStars publishing and have everything there like a one-stop shop? Is the tech there yet? Is that the idea? Where do we stand?
That's the next evolution. Right now, it's the register a song. It's pretty straightforward. We're using a bunch of APIs, but essentially just type in the title of the song. It'll find it and it'll populate all the information that should be populated automatically, on the registration side. So, to answer it straightforward, Dame, are they crossed like that? Not yet. But we do try to make it as easy as possible for everyone to register their songs. Now, the nature of how a lot of these songs come into being, through BeatStars, right, sometimes doesn't lend itself. I'll cut straight to it. We need to know legal names, right, of everyone on that song. That's how you can know you get properly paid out outside of having the ISRC, right? And so just knowing that information looks correct, sometimes that's hard to find. Like you do a beat lease, you don't know who bought that beat, right, essentially. So we have a team of people that try to find that information, right, because we want to deliver the most correct metadata as possible. And that's an issue in the industry in whole, right? It's metadata, not having correct or a resource or one database that has everything correct. So anyways, that's what we're just trying to perfect, is that as well.
When producers are working with artists or artists are working with producers, whoever's releasing the song, what information beyond, having the person's legal name should they be capturing so that they can register the songs on the publishing side when the song is released? So it would be legal name. What other?
Yeah, for us, listen, I think all information is great, right? I know a lot will ask for the IPI and all that good stuff. For us, since whoever's in a deal with BeatStars, right, we care about that info, and that's pre-logged in, their IPI, their PRO, so we know where to send it. Using our system, we just need to know legal names. and the split. You want to have the correct split. So whatever that split is and their legal name, and then we do the rest essentially. I know labels will ask for the IPI, or some artists do as well from the producer, because they may be putting in their registration, but I think what people forget is that they only care about their registration. They don't necessarily care about all the other people on the songs. They're really just needing their split. So yeah, that's what we need.
Right. So what does happen when there is conflicts? Like what happens when, the one person on the song registers a song and then the other, that basically the sum is bigger than 100%, something like that. What typically is the process? What happens when there is a conflict?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the real quick version of it is that, let's just say there's a song that for a moment in time looked correct, meaning it added up to 100% in splits, right? So that's what they factor everything in, which is different than the writer side, right? That's like on a 200 scale. This is on a 100 scale for the publishing side. So anyways, say it's added at 100, and then someone comes in and says, hey, I added drums to that, or I did this, right? And now in the back end, it looks like 115%. Let's just say they put in their percentage claim. So essentially what happens is that those parties have to work it out, right? So it starts publisher between publisher, and they say, hey, do you have proof of this split? And producer paperwork. That's why producer paperwork is very important, because that's really what they are going to look at, what was decided upon. Now, if that's even in question, then, it obviously kind of goes down a path that you know where it's going to go, right? It's now, well, let's work it out between producer, artist, or manager. And then if you can't work that out, then it goes into, you get a lawyer involved, and you got to figure that, and what was really presented there. But most of the time it's rectified between the publishers, right? And that's really what an admin company does too. It fights for their people's rights in a way, so yeah, that's generally how that goes down.
So we talked about the performance royalties, mechanical royalties. There's some people that think that they're going to get sync opportunities through an admin deal. Does Sony help with syncs at all?
They do. They're they have a full department, but listen, the reality of everything, even syncs, right? It is tough, right? At the end of the day. But if you look at it from a department like that, right, it's going to be the songs that are actual songs, right? And so if there's vocals on it, and if there's there's great momentum on that song, those are usually priority there too, unless there's a specific brief that it fits for. So again, we're aware of some of those opportunities, and we spread those to the community when we feel they make sense, because we're also not trying to just sell a dream too, because there's a lot that goes, as Dame, on the sync side. Right. But we also get hit up direct, more on an instrumental access, right, from documentaries or sports shows, things like that, that are more looking for that. So again, we're always trying to source those ops. But again, we want to present something that's realistic and not, hey, just submit a beat, maybe it gets picked, at the end of the day. So
right. Yeah, no, a lot of, I would say most of sync opportunities, you have to build relationships. Well, there are sync houses that do that. If you build relationships with them, they have a lot of relationship with music supervisors, or you can try to build relationships with music supervisors directly, which would be ideal. So it's a difficult lane to get into, but once you get in there, and if you're good at building relationships and your music is solid, they don't want to search everywhere for songs. Like they want to go to their go-tos. So if you're one of their go-tos, but would you guys collect once you do get a sync placement, do you guys collect that money?
If you collect that money, we collect the performance side of it, if it's reruns, things like that. And then also if a member is doing some of this stuff on their own, right? Because again, a lot of people are hustlers and they're doing it on their own in that way. It's just to keep us posted of those. So we know that, hey, this person has a great track record on syncs, right? Or this person has a great track record maybe in doing this type of placement, right? So any of that info is great. So then you can build that kind of rapport internally, because that's the other side of it. It's like, if there is momentum there, we're not turning a blind eye to that. Obviously, it's like, all right, well, these guys know exactly what's going on. They have the relationships and things of that nature. So yeah, again, we're always trying to assist and connect dots. And then if we feel we couldn't do it, then we know a lot of people. So that's how we're just operate.
Wow.
But you're right, Dame. I mean, listen, like anything, you got to build your own connections. Like no one's going to out hustle you, right? And that's how we feel about our partners, any of them. Like you're going to do everything the most because you know what you want, and so that's how we feel our community is too, right? Everyone's out there socializing and hitting people up on DM. I would just continue doing that, And for syncs, if a supervisor is trusted in you and they know that you're delivering songs that are cleared and there's no samples, because as you know, rap is very hard to sync. So because of the samples and the multiple writers and all that. So if they have a trusted source, they're going to be hitting you up a lot.
Right. So again, just to remind people, this is an admin deal as opposed to like a co-pub deal. You guys might want to explain like the difference between like an admin deal and a co-pub deal?
For sure. Dylan, you want to take that?
So, the tradition, I think a lot of people, when they think of publishing deals, they think of co-publishing deals, and that's like what they think of publishing deals as a whole. But yeah, there is a big difference on a few different levels. On one hand, the traditional co-publishing deal is a 50-50 split. So $1 comes in once whoever it is recouped. You're splitting that down the middle, 50-50 on all levels. And traditionally, admin deals are much more favorable in terms of splits. Like we spoke of before, like our mechanical split is 80-20. Our performance royalty split on the publisher side is 60-40 in the creator's favor. Another major difference between the traditional co-publishing deal and an admin deal is ownership. We don't ever own anything in an admin deal. You're essentially giving us the go ahead to collect on your behalf. So that's admin comes from administering. We're administering your songs and collecting on your behalf. At the end of the day, you are still the owner of your rights. There's not a transfer of ownership in the way that there is in a co-publishing deal. This isn't the case with every single admin deal, but another big difference between ours and maybe a traditional co-publishing deal is we don't have a retention period at all with our admin deals. And when I say retention period, for people that don't know what that is, that means the time post-term that the publisher is going to be participating in your rights, right? Traditionally, in a lot of co-publishing deals and publishing deals, that's been lifetime, sometimes 30 years or beyond. And with us, after 1 year, let's say you decide that you want to go in a different direction, you have the ability to do that. We are not taking a piece of that, what comes after that year. We will continue to participate for 1 year. Afterward, we have a collection period. But did we lose Dan?
Oh.
Can you hear me, Greg?
Yeah, I can hear you.
This is the second week in a row StreamYard has just kicked me from the stream. So I don't know what's going on, but
kicking the host, man.
Yeah, that's happened twice.
But yes, so we don't have a retention period. We do have a 1 year collection period, but that's a huge difference. Is most co-publishing deals you have an extensive retention period, which that means that whoever you partnered with is participating in your income for years and years and years to come. Ours, it's truly, when I look at our deal, and I come from doing deals at other major publishing companies and even indies alike, and there just isn't anything like it that's as flexible and short term, So I think that's the beauty in it. Whether you're a creator who's a little bit further down the line in your career, where you've already done a couple publishing deals and now you want to really maximize ownership of your rights and you want to do it with us, it makes a lot of sense. And it also makes a lot of sense for people who are just getting going and they want these services to be able to collect on their behalf. Maybe they don't feel like they're ready for a larger co-publishing deal, or maybe they feel like an admin deal is what they want in the long run. Like that's kind of the beauty, is it's kind of custom fitted to support all of those different paths. But yeah, I think those are some of the big differences just in terms of like what you look at on paper between a co-pub deal and our admin deal in particular.
Yeah, and I think and we touched on this a little bit before, but the advantage of having like Sony as a partner is not only how big they are, but being a global and being established for so long. I mean, because there's different rules and different organizations in every country. So having a global, partner to partner with, I think is crucial. So there isn't a different split on like international payments, right? It's just the difference between, okay, the mechanical 80-20 and then the writer share 60-40.
Correct. Yeah. And you touched on something important there, not to hijack, but in terms of the worldwide approach, because the community's all over the place, right? And so there's many times too where it's like, hey, we're trying to track down this artist from Germany because we saw that it's trending and we haven't had that communication. I'm talking as the producer, right? So we're able to connect those dots, right? Because we have people on the ground there with the Sony team in Germany or France or South Africa or whatever it is, and we're talking to them on a weekly basis, because again, we have a global community. We want to make sure that we're looking at every type of opportunity that they may be coming across, because they all see that, listen, BeatStars is providing an insane service outside of the pub side, right? What it is and the marketplace and how we're able to connect dots, even if you're based in, Turkey or whatever it is, like you guys are having a great, involvement in the music industry, right? The global economy, the global music industry, but really here in the States too. So anyways, having that type of connection is great, to clarify or to follow up with someone. And again, just trying to see what else they're working on too,
Yeah, and I think it's cool that, it obviously, having a partner like Sony, them recognizing like how the music industry is changing, how it's evolving. So I think a partnership with BeatStars is huge.
Yeah, no, it was great for them to see that because listen, we've been that kind of in the background a little bit, as it pertains to that industry. And now they kind of see, wow, okay, there's a lot of songs being created here, and so we can't just let that exist on its own. There needs to be a structure of this kind of service or just, again, connecting dots or just answering questions that might be unanswered for a while, if they're trying to do it on their own or, again, that's where we've seen in this past year really helping those people out in terms of, hey, my beat got stolen. I don't know how to reach out to this label in Colombia. It's impossible. They're not going to respond. But with us, they respond, right? Or whatever else it is, tracking down a producer agreement for a song that's been out for 3 years, right? If you're based halfway across the world, a major label is probably not going to respond to you right away for a priority that's 2.5, 3 years old. They're like, that business is done. We think we have it clear. They need people like us or, following up and trying to figure out if there is something wrong that was done for us to, fix it. So
right. And I don't know if you'll answer this question, but is partnering with is Sony looking at this also as an opportunity to kind of source talent? Like is it?
Yeah, listen, that's another reason why Dylan's here and Danny and Cammy and Mike. Mike. It's really just trying to figure out. Okay, there is a lot of momentum happening with these producers. They need more, light shone on them or whatnot. So can we have those conversations internally with Sony and see if there's some bigger situations that could happen? That's obviously inevitable. That's what is happening right now, is seeing how everyone is doing. And if there is bigger opportunities, we have that conversation, in the most straightforward way possible, because we kind of go through that. I'm not going to call it bullshit by any means, but the typical kind of conversations that do happen, when you're shopping around and things like that. We just want to present this is what the clear opportunity for you guys, this is what we can do. And having BeatStars and Sony behind you is, something that's kind of hasn't been done before. Having two companies, one really into that creator market like ourselves, and then having that infrastructure of Sony as well, which is great.
Greg, I know you said you might have to cut out. It is.
Yeah. So right now. But Dylan's got this. Yeah. I appreciate you having me on or having us on.
Appreciate it, man.
For sure. Thank you.
Cool. So we have some questions that are come through already. Let's see. Bufo asks, can split percentages be changed after a release? Like 6 to 12 months later, for example, could they help with something like that? Like if it was, I don't know, maybe there's an agreement just to change the percentages splits for some reason. Can you guys help with something like that?
Yeah, I mean, if it's something that's mutually agreed upon between parties, then we can definitely get that adjusted. I think if it's like due to a disagreement and there's like difference of opinion on it, it gets a little bit more challenging, and we can be there to help kind of problem solve that. But yeah, most of the time, like we were talking about, publishing money comes in a little slower. So 6 months in, and nobody's probably seen a dollar yet, so it's easier to tackle at that point than maybe once you get 12 months down the line or further on, because money has been paid out, right? And that's not to say that there haven't been situations where that happens and money has to be retracted and paid to different sources. It definitely happens, but I guess the short answer is yes. Splits can be altered as needed. There just may be like a delay in how money comes out after that.
Right. Cool. Another question. This one's from Andy. He said, and just to give you guys a heads up, if you do have questions, you can just type them in the comments, no matter where you're tuning in from. If you type your question in the comment section, I should be able to see them, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. But definitely want to be respectful of Dylan's time, so we won't go too much longer. But the question is, will there be an overlap with his PRO?
No. So you're gonna still, just for full clarity, you're still gonna be using your PRO. You're still gonna see all of your writer share income come in on your PRO. If you haven't had a publisher to date, then you're publishing and you have a publishing entity set up with your PRO. That's the only difference basically that's going to be changing, is now that publishing money that was also coming to your PRO is going to come to BeatStars instead, and we're going to disperse it to you. So there's no overlap. It's one at that point will collect writer share, and then we will collect publisher share, and it's very clean.
Dope. Okay, here's another question that I'll be able to weigh in on as well. Should we be using BeatStars Publishing no matter how big or small the project is?
I mean, I think yes. Like I'm a believer in looking after your copyrights, and protecting yourself to your full capacity. And honestly, you never know when a song is gonna become a big project that started a small project. I mean, we at BeatStars, obviously we see songs pop off out of nowhere all of the time. And let me tell you this, it's a lot easier when things are already registered and clean when that happens than trying to figure that all out once the song is going. So I'm definitely a believer in registering everything and anything that is out there and commercially available. But let me know what you're thinking, Dim.
No, well, the fact of the matter is most artists publishing isn't worth shit at the moment. Like there's a shitload of music being released. It's not being streamed that much. And the publishing royalties generated from that is not much. And I think that's part of the reason why most people aren't set up to receive all their publishing. But like Dylan just said, you never know. You always want to have a strong foundation set up the right way in preparation for expected growth in the future. So when songs do start moving, instead of having to go backwards and start to register everything and clean everything up, you want to have a solid foundation so that, as you're consistently releasing, as you're, building your brand, releasing music, and you start to get traction, you already have that foundation. You already have kind of that system in place to make sure you're capturing everything that will be owed to you. So
yeah. Yeah, you don't want to be, once things start moving, you don't want to all of a sudden having to be shifting all your focus to a bunch of administrative work. When something starts moving, opportunities are going to come, right? And you want to be able to have all of your time and energy focused on maximizing those opportunities, whether it's sessions or working with new producers or artists or whatever it may be. You don't want to all of a sudden be in like shifting, into business mode and having to try and pull it all together, because that ultimately you're going to miss out on certain things. So I think it's almost like, to me, I agree with what you're saying. Like very early on, yes, there's not a ton of revenue that's coming from publishing if a song isn't performing well, but at some point everyone's doing this with the idea that this is going to turn into something successful, right? And they're laying down the bricks that get them to there. And I think maintaining your business and setting it all up consistently and being diligent and disciplined about that is part of what helps get you there. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. And especially with platforms like TikTok these days, like, things could start moving overnight. You just never know. So you want to be prepared if or when that happens. There was another question that I just missed. Would it be a problem to publish with more than one company?
So there are certain companies that will let you publish on a song-by-song basis. We are not one of them. Our deals are based on a specific allotted amount of time. So like we said, it's 1 year. And so in that year, all songs that you're registering have to be registered with us. For us, it's part of the reality that we provide a bit of a larger service, and it's much more hands-on. And because of that, it didn't really make sense for us to piecemeal, it out on a song-by-song basis. So some companies may allow you to do that. We do not. It's just not really something that makes sense for the kind of offering that we provide.
Got you. What is your advice for producers? Obviously, they're selling licensing a shitload of beats on BeatStars. A lot of those songs are getting uploaded without the proper credits. What should producers do on their end to how should they communicate it on their website, in email confirmations? Like, what can they do to let the artist know, like, hey, I am entitled to X% of finished song on the composition side, please register me. Like, what's the best practices for a producer to make sure, or try to make sure that their song gets registered the right way?
Yeah, I mean, for starters, like, I think it's putting all of your all of what you're asking for in that contract that's issued by BeatStars every time a lease happens. So, for the producers that I see having success in this capacity, they have their songwriting name in there, they have their publishing entity in there, they have their IPI number in there. They are saying, hey, when you license this, you are granting me 50% of, whatever it is that you're asking for. I believe producers should be asking for 50% of the publishing on any song that they're doing, particularly if it's happening in the way that online sales happen, because a beat, melodies, everything is there, and somebody's really writing to that and creating an original track out of it. So I think the first step is making sure that you're contractually set up to where you are in fact owed that, right? Because if that's not stated and in the contract when someone is making that purchase, then it's up in the air, and then it's afterwards you're trying to sort it out and come to middle ground with somebody, right? But if it's there from the jump, then you are legally protected. Does that mean that everybody is going to go out there and list all your credits and register the song correctly? No, you still are going to have to chase people at times, but at least that whatever happens with that song, you are legally protected. You've set yourself up to where any type of discussion to be had, there's a precedent already set, right? In terms of credits, I feel the same way. I think you put in that to where every time a lease happens in that contract, it's saying you have to credit me on DSPs, and you list exactly how you want it credited. If it's important for you to be listed as a writer, you clarify it in there as well. on the back end of it, once the song's out, if somebody's not crediting you in the way that your contract has allowed or has asked for, then I think you try and find the best means of contact with them. If it's an artist of some presence, they're likely going to have somebody on their team. Usually, I mean, in today's world, it's like an artist steps onto a DSP and they're breathing and they have a manager. So I think they're the best form of contact. Artists, aren't necessarily always the most dependable when it comes to communication like that. So I think you try and hit the manager, maybe manager and the artist. If you're struggling to get in touch in that capacity, you can talk to us and see if you're with us and see if we have a contact within their team, because often we're able to kind of cut through the clutter with them. And, my advice is to not give up. Sometimes it takes being a little bit persistent with it. You might not get a response a few of the first times. And sometimes that's not because, people are ignoring you. They're just very busy and they have cluttered inboxes, and maybe they don't already have communication with you. So, it even happens with bigger artists, man. Like I've dealt with it with some of my own guys where, we've had a song that's one of the top songs on TikTok, and it takes like 2 weeks to get something out of the artist and to get it fixed. And it's annoying, but unfortunately it's a part of this business. You see, top 5 rappers who, you see their song come out, it's on Music Friday, and you right click on it, and in the produce by section there's just a dash, and you're like, how does this happening? This is like one of the biggest artists in the world, but it does, and it just takes it's annoying, but it takes persistence. And what I would encourage producers to do is always fight to get that credit, because that credit is your livelihood. I don't take it lightly with DSPs. Like that's how a lot of like other A&Rs, other artists find, producers, is they go and now they can see exactly who just did that song, right? And it can lead it to them. So I think go about it, but in a persistent way, but also just be cordial. Don't burn a bridge. Don't be harsh in the way that you reach out. Don't make threats. Like as much as possible, try and be just very solution oriented about it.
Right. Yeah, no, always maintain your professionalism. But like we talked about earlier, like there's just a lot of misinformation out there. People just don't have a good understanding of the two different copyrights. So when you reach out to them and say, hey, I own 50% of this song, if you say it like that, they're going to believe, oh, you get 50% of everything. No, that's not what I signed up for. They're not going to be able to distinguish the master side versus the publishing side. So there's just, more education that needs to happen. So don't fly off the handle. You don't know kind of, what their background is. This could be like a young kid that just uploaded a song for the first time and has no idea, what they're doing. So it's going to get frustrating. And it's one of the reasons why I'm leaving the music business. So cool. All right, let me see. I saw a bunch of comments. I'm not sure if any of them were questions. So let me scroll up and see. Can we collect publishing on beats that we distribute with BeatStars, or is it for actual songs only?
So if you've commercially released it in any capacity, yes, you can. If the song's not on any platforms, then there really isn't going to be publishing money to collect. But let's say you do beat tapes, or you put stuff on YouTube or DSPs or whatever it is. If you're commercially releasing it in any capacity, then the answer is yes. It's not just for songs. There's plenty of guys that are with us that they don't have a lot of songs that come out, but they have a lot of beats that they put out commercially, and we are collecting on their behalf on that front.
Dope. All right, so I'll wait another second or two to see if more questions come in. I think this has been extremely helpful. I think BeatStars is doing really dope things. Let's see. Ben, I appreciate that. I'm probably never leaving 100%, but I'm definitely leaving like 85%, because even the stuff that I do in comedy is I'm finding out has music ties, so I'm always going to be pulled back. But all right, it looks like we don't have any more questions. Maybe another 5 or 10 seconds, and then I'll let Dylan get back to doing what he does. I'm sure they'll be back on doing more streams. And you guys said you have resources on a pretty ongoing basis, right? Where can they get those resources?
Yeah, so follow BeatStars Studio on Instagram. There's tons of great information that comes from that. Follow BeatStars Publishing. Our Instagram is really just like very geared towards education on all fronts for producers, but there's a lot of stuff now, especially now that we're in the groove of rolling out the publishing entity. A lot of publishing geared information, so make sure you follow us there. And we do a lot of these too, a lot of live streams, a lot of different things that we try and get on and answer any questions that we have. And we also have an amazing customer support team. If there's ever anything specific that you want to ask about your own business or beats you've uploaded or songs you have with us. So all of the above.
Dope. So it looks like we have one more from A6 Giddy. Probably pronounced that wrong, but usernames be crazy these days. Does BeatStars Publishing collect from YouTube, for example?
So yeah, there are publishing royalties that are generated from YouTube, and we do collect on your behalf out there. So yes.
But that's not like your AdSense, right?
Correct. It's not that's more on the master side. We don't touch any of that. Your direct YouTube revenue, as most producers know it, that's not affecting that. We have guys that are even with with other companies, in terms of ones they go out there and they collect YouTube revenue for creators that are signed with us on the publishing side. So that doesn't get in the way of that at all.
No. That Thing Productions. Yes, this is the Sony BeatStars partnership. So Sony is basically, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but Sony is essentially kind of anchoring the publishing for and admitting the publishing for BeatStars, right?
Yeah, they're our backbone. They're there to help on all the administrative stuff. They bring us certain opportunities, and like we kind of spoke of earlier, it's just really important to have an international partner for this. We're such a global company at this point, and we wanted to be able to service creators all across the globe. We got guys coming in from every corner, so they're really able to do that for us in a meaningful way. And also, we're able to collect royalties at the highest rates possible. A lot of people don't realize this, but different publishing companies are able to collect at different rates because of their market share. And so Sony, not only are they, great in so many ways, but they're a top publisher in that sense. So they really are help us to get the most value out of every dollar that comes in for our clients.
Nice. Well, Dylan, it was nice meeting you, man. I don't think we've ever spoke before, but it was nice meeting you, and I appreciate you taking the time to share this information with our community. I'm sure you'll be back on more live streams soon. Tap into BeatStars Publishing. You said you just kind of, if you don't have a pub admin at this time, you just sign up through BeatStars Studio, you said?
Yes, sir.
Sounds good. All right, y'all. Hopefully you appreciate this session. DJ Payne 1 has a session on Thursday. And then next week, I'm going to be back with a rep from Moment House. They've been doing a lot of live streaming, a lot of ticketed live streaming. So we're going to talk about that, how they've been setting that up, and talk about their platform. So that should be another good one. But everybody, hopefully this is a great start to your week. Kill it. Get some wins. And Dylan, thanks again, man. I'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Peace.
Have a good one.